So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to take you through the Pro Tools MIDI recording exercise so that you kind of know what to do with stuff. So the first thing you're going to do is plug in your MIDI controller. Now, if you do not have a MIDI controller, that's okay. I'm going to show you how to pencil in the notes. It takes a little bit longer. It's not quite as easy as playing stuff in, but kind of depends on how good of a player you are anyway for keyboards. If you're not even a keyboard player, then playing your stuff in is really hard anyway. So what I want to show you is how to just kind of program stuff in. So first of all, step number one here, plug in your controller. If you have a controller, plug it in. If you don't have a controller, skip it, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to make a new session in Pro Tools. So I'm just going to go over here to my Pro Tools. I'm going to make a new session. And this new session here, I'm going to call this one Tony Grund MIDI Exercise, like that. And down here, I/O settings are going to be stereo mix, 24-bit wave, 44.1 interleaved. In here, prompt for location. I'm just going to put it in my Pro Tools projects for now. I'll move it later. So now I had this came up and it automatically created a click track for me because I set that up in my preferences earlier. I'm just going to go ahead and mute this because we don't really need it right now. But you can see that click track is in both windows here. I'm going to make sure I turn it down as well. If we listen to it, there we go. Cool. I'm going to slow that down. Now, the first thing about making a beat, really, and this is something that a lot of people skip over, they don't really understand, but the first thing about making the beat is, one, you always need to use a click track. Two, always need to start at the tempo that you want your beat at. So you need to kind of think about what tempo do you want your beat? What BPM do you want it to be? So if I want like a techno track, then I would keep it around 120. But if I want it to be like a hip hop thing, like that, then I would slow that down. So what I can do is I can go over here. There's a couple ways you can change your beat. If you want to change it in real time, go to Window, Transport, and just change it right here on the bottom right hand corner. There it is right there. Change that, hit play. All right, that's pretty good. I'm going to slow it down a little bit more. Let's slow it down to 80. 85. Okay. So I've got like a little drum beat in my head. It's not not the drum beat I'm going to use finally, but it's just the drum beat that kind of works for right now. I am the click tracks at every drummer in history, yes, and they were all wrong. But we've already talked about that. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to leave that in here. That's the tempo I want, so I can turn my click off. I don't really need it right now, especially because I'm not going to be playing stuff in. I'm going to be programming stuff in. So that's the first couple steps there. Now what we want to do is we want to make some new tracks. So what we want for the assignment today is it's going to be 3 instruments and a reverb and a master fader, and that's it. It's nothing. I don't want you to make a whole track. I don't want you to make a whole big thing. I don't care if you can. I don't want you to. I don't want to see it. I don't want you to make a huge big track that's got a whole bunch of stuff happening. I just want to see that you can do 3 instruments and reverb and a master fader. That's it. It's going to be easier for me to look at, all that type of stuff. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back into Pro Tools and I'm going to make 3 instrument tracks that are stereo. And I'm going to make one aux input that's stereo and one master fader that's stereo. So I just made these tracks here like this, and I'm going to hit go, and here they are. And I'm just going to go ahead and label these right now because why not, right? So the first one here will be my MIDI drums, and the second one will be my MIDI bass, and my third one will be my MIDI keys or lead or whatever. Here, we'll call it synth for now. So I have these here. The aux track here will be a reverb, and we should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and stick a reverb on here, and that's going to be, I'll just use the one that comes with Pro Tools, the D-verb. It's a good one to use. It's fine. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that up. I'm going to put a plate on it, large plate. Yeah, that's good. All right, so we have these things here. Now, on each track, okay, so on the load up Boom, which is Pro Tools native sample-based virtual instrument, I'm going to use the drums from somewhere else. I'm not going to use the drums from Boom because I don't have Boom on this computer. Not because I don't like it, I just don't have it. I don't have any need for it. I don't use it in any other time. So let's go down here and use, all right, I'll use Contact. And I'm going to use the, let's see here. Drum Lab? No, not Drum Lab. Is it Drum Lab? Nope, it's not. I do not want to use Drum Lab. I'm going to use the factory library drum selection, I think. Yeah, analog kits. And in here, here we'll use the Plinko kit, whatever that is. And now, if I've got this one up here, and I'm just gonna go over here and take another sound for my bass, and I'll just use Contact for everything. If you loaded in the stuff that I recommended for with Ryan's class, you will have, how much have I spent on Contact? Well, what I do is I always get the updates eventually, because every summer and winter, Native Instruments. What time are we doing Zoom? I don't know. I don't know right now. I mean, probably around noon. Probably noon. But so Contact. It's Complete Control. That's probably what you get. I think Complete Control maybe. Let's use Complete Control and see what's in this. I don't use Complete Control usually, but I think that's the one you get for free. You get like this free selection of stuff. But I always get the updates for the new version of Complete every time they use it, every time they do it. And so this last time I got the full-on ultimate update that has like everything, like the special edition, and that was $300. Oh yeah, no, we're not gonna scan my library. So I've got a whole bunch of Contact stuff in there, and I have extra Contact stuff from other companies as well. So that was my drums, and let's go in here. I'm going to go to my Contact factory selection. What's in here? Let's do. Let's go to this one here, factory library, and in here let's go to synth, and let's go to synth bass. Actually, you know what? This is probably factory selection is probably the same thing. So that's probably the stuff you guys have. So let's use pure pulse bass. There we go. And now let's go into my lead. And again, we'll use Contact. I'm just going to use Contact for everything. So that way, if you have installed this stuff that I recommended, you'll be right at home. And in here, the factory selection. And let's grab a synth sound, lead sound, retro mono. That should be fine. There we go. So now I've got these three instruments in here. I've got my bass, my drums, my bass, and my synth. And now what I can do is, and this is where things start to get a little bit different. So far, we've done pretty much whatever it is. Let's see here. Use click setup preferences in the menu bar, then select the MIDI tab, check the box that says use MIDI to tap tempo. You can do that if you want. I don't really do that. I usually listen to it to do it. The conductor button on the transport is enabled. Again, you don't need to do that part there. Double click the red time triangle. So this is like a slightly older version of Pro Tools that it's kind of telling you from. What I recommend with all this stuff is your transport in here. Oh, it's already turned on. Okay, that's why. Okay, cool. All right. That's why it's already set up by default. It didn't used to be set up like that by default. All right, so count off 1 bar. So you can turn this on, count off here, snap the bar, let's see. Go back in the transport menu and make sure the count off is enabled, highlight green, set to 1 bar. Boop, boop, boop. Double click the count off value. Where is that? Oh, here. Oh, okay, here we go. 1 bar. We can double click that right there where it says 1 bar here. Let me just show you where my mouse is so you're not lost. It's right here and count off. Double click that, change that to 1 bar. Boom. All right. And change the name of the first string instrument to drums. Okay, we already did that stuff, changing the instruments here. Use your MIDI. Okay, so step number 11, use your MIDI controller to record a drum pattern. this is where we're going to diverge from the instructions here. Instead of doing this, what you can do is, let's just create a MIDI pattern in here, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to highlight with my selector tool how much I want to do. Let's just do a 2-bar loop here. I'm going to highlight it, and I hit Command, let's see, I can use Option Shift 3, and that will create a MIDI track, a MIDI clip for me in here. So let me just show you that one more time. I'm going to highlight the bars. Got my grid set to bars up here. You can change this to 8th note or 16th note, whatever you want to change it to. But I've basically got 2 bars highlighted. See that? 2 bars are highlighted here, and I hit Option Shift 3. When I hit Option Shift 3, that goes ahead and it makes a MIDI clip for me. So now I've got this MIDI clip here, and what I can do is I can open up my MIDI clip in the bottom so we can see what's going on down here. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that it's looping that part. So there we go. Cool. And now I'm going to go through all these sounds down here. I'm just going to make sure we can hear our sounds. There we go. And if you don't hear your sounds, couple things. One, you got to make sure up here this is turned on right there. This little button is turned on. 2, you have to click on the notes over here. And if we're on the wrong note, I can use my scroll wheel on my mouse, or I can hold down the claw and drag up and down on the notes here. Right, cool. So there we go. There's a sound. All right, so I'm going to use these 2 here. That one and that one right there. So, and how do I know that I'm going to use those? I'm just clicking on the sound over here, and that's the sound I want to use. Now, if we look back at the top of my screen up here, if you turn this one off, this one right here, if you turn that off, then I'm not going to hear the notes when I click on them. Oh, wait, why is that happening? Weird. Okay, obviously I'm wrong about that. That's funny. I guess you are going to hear the notes down here. All right, cool. So we're hearing the notes. If I double click on this though, to open up, not down here in the bottom, hold on, to open up a new window, oh, it's not going to open. Okay, fine. Here, window, MIDI editor, boom. Okay, so in here, there's this one here, which you can turn on and off, but let's use it down the bottom. I thought they were connected, but apparently they're not connected. So I'm just going to use this down here. So we can hear them. Good for us. Okay. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw these notes in down here. Now, a couple of ways we can do that. We can use the pencil tool right here to draw them in. And just draw these in. And draw some hi-hats in. Yep, see how I can listen to these ahead of time. Cool. Oops, that one's in the wrong place. Double click it to get rid of it. And now I'm going to put it back to my instruments here. That's annoying. Turn these up. So I just highlighted them all, and I'm going to turn them up down here. Boom, 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 boom. Turn the volume down. There we go. Cool. So I got that little beat right there. Now, I know I just made that look pretty easy. That's just because I've done this a million times. Again, practice makes perfect with all this stuff here. Cool. So I'm changing the size of these because I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to do the same thing with my bass. I'm going to highlight a section of this. I'm going to hit Option Shift 3, and it's going to put in a MIDI clip here on my bass track here. Now, on the left-hand side, you can see my bass is selected here because it's got a pencil tool next to it. right there is my pencil tool. So let's go ahead and turn this down before we shatter eardrums. All right, and scroll down and I'm going to use my pencil tool again. There we go. So pencil tool. Cool. Just do that there. There we go. Cool. And I can make these longer or shorter if I put on if I put on my Smart Tool, I can make these longer by clicking and dragging them over like this. Cool. And I'm going to go down here to my synth track and I'm going to drag this over like that. Option Shift 3 to put a new clip in there. And inside of here now, turn this down so I don't shatter our eardrums. Yep, and we're going to go up here. And I'm not going to play it, I'm just going to go ahead and pencil this in first. And we're going to drag that. Now I'm just going to use my edit things up here to drag this over like that. And now, okay, and I can make a change to the second one here. And I'm just going to keep these notes in here. I'm going to keep these notes in here, but I'm going to move them around. Let's see what that sounds like. Cool. And you can see I've got all this. I'm just going to consolidate these together, and I'm going to make these a little bit shorter. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send this synth over to the reverb over here using what we've already learned about. I'm going to go ahead and set my input on the reverb to bus 1 and 2. I'm going to set my output over here, my send here to bus 1 and 2. Send that over. Let's see how that sounds. Now, if you wanted to make these sound a little bit cooler or whatever, you can go ahead and put some filters and stuff on them. So I'm going to use the, let's use this filter here, vintage filter, boom. So you got that there, and now we can lay it out a little bit. So I'm just going to close this down, this one down here, and I'm going to grab these, and they work exactly the same as your audio tracks, audio clips that you played with a couple weeks ago, except for the big difference with these is you can't fade them. There's no fade because audio and MIDI are different. So got this here. We're going to start with this one. All right, do that, boom. And now I just laid it out, a little bit of a thing, and I just kind of did it as it did how you turn that MIDI clip as a audio clip. Don't worry about that yet. I will show you how to do it another time, but that's further in the future. I don't really want to, I don't want to get there yet because that's a whole different thing. We don't need to turn it into an audio clip yet. I want you to stay in MIDI right now. I really want for you to stay in MIDI, so I don't want to show you how to turn it into an audio clip. Although, if you were paying attention 2 days ago, I think, Monday, we actually did talk about it a little bit. But I don't want you doing that yet. There's like a very way to do all this stuff. So once you've mastered the MIDI clips, then we can talk about turning them into audio clips. All right, so that's it. I mean, and then once you've done that, I just want to see it. I just want a screenshot that looks like this. So take a screenshot, boom, 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 and move that like that. And there we go. So now you can see there's my screenshot, and that's basically what I want. I want the screenshot that looks like that. Now, like I said, we did kind of move away from what the instructions were doing there. If you have a controller, you're going to use your controller and you're going to use MIDI merge. So if you have a controller, you do it slightly differently. Let me just go back and show it for those of you who do have controllers. I'm going to go ahead and delete this here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to use the MIDI merge and all that stuff we talked about before. So again, I'm going to set a 2-bar loop here. And if we go into, did I just close that out? Okay, so 11, step number 11, use your MIDI controller to record a drum pattern. To do this, I record each drum one at a time and use a MIDI merge feature to build the entire pattern. So that's like this. So I set my loop to be 2 bars, and I've got my drums over here, and so I'm just going to go ahead and remember our transport here, MIDI merge, turn that on, and I'm going to hit the record button. It's going to do a 1-bar count in for me. Why are we not hearing anything? Because my MIDI click is, there we go. Okay, and I'm going to, you can hear it's a little bit off, and that's because I actually didn't set up my input quantize here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, boom, and I'm going to actually quantize this, which we haven't. We're going to talk about quantizing tomorrow, like real quantizing, but there we go, there's that. Now I'm going to hit record on this again, and cool. Now, if I want to turn that down, you hear how it's like really loud compared to everything else? I can just grab that and turn that down in here. Cool. So I can turn that down, and now, without stopping it, I'll just go to my bass down here, and I'll just record. I got that there. I'm going to hit my synth, record in. All right, cool. That's cool, but it's too low. I didn't realize I was in the same. I didn't realize I was in the same range. So I got a couple things I can do here. I can, yeah, I'm just going to replay it. So. Yeah, cool, all right, so we got that. Here, let's hit, let's turn on my click so I got that count in. So you hear how it's kind of like hitting, like kind of getting loud a couple times. Well, that's because of the way the synth is programmed, and what I can do is I can just grab this one here and make sure it overlaps. You want all your notes to be overlapping with a synth like this, so it doesn't do that kind of weird stabby thing. There you go. Cool. So now what I can do is I can go back here and back it out a little bit, and let's start with the drum beat this time. I'm just going to move this over, move that over, and I'm just going to duplicate this drum beat out a couple times until we get to bar 16. Why is that? Oh yeah, that's fine. Okay, and this, and like that, and boom, 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 and get rid of you, duplicate you for a couple times, and then come back and end with this here. So if I hit go, whatever. Okay, it's not. We're not trying to. Don't worry about making the masterpiece, because whatever you make is probably not going to sound like a masterpiece to you. And don't get frustrated with it, because really all we're doing at this point is just learning how to use Pro Tools. Just bang something out real quick and just make it so it's mixed fairly okay, and you've got some reverb on it. And again, what I want to see with this is just something like this. Take a screenshot of this. Like that, and that would be my what you would turn in, and that's fine for today's assignment. And like I said, today we're going to be going into more stuff tomorrow as well. So today's assignment really covers. It's really for today and tomorrow. I just wanted you to start kind of getting a leg up on it, so you can start messing around with it and trying some stuff out. Step number 15 here talks about expand, and I don't have expand on my computer here. It talks about vacuum as well, and so you can go in here and you can mess around with it here, and it does explain stuff in here. It basically just goes through what I just went through, just in more words. And so what I recommend is watch the video and also read the instructions, and then hit me up with any kind of questions. But watch the video first and read the instructions before you start coming at me with too many questions, because there will be some confusing stuff.